Want to know the best way to rig a Texas rig worm? I'm going to show you in this short video. Stay tuned. If you watched any of my videos in the past, you know down here in Florida we do a lot of Texas rig worming. It's pretty important if you're into bass fishing to learn this technique. There's several different ways to rig a Texas rig worm. This right here is what I see to be the most common. You have a bobber stopper or sinker stopper right here on the line to stop the weight from sliding up and down. Then you have a slip sinker. This is just a basic lead 3/16 ounce bullet weight and a 4/0 offset hook. That seems to be pretty popular. That's what most of my customers show up with. If they have rods that are already rigged and ready to go of their own, this is what they show up with. This is not typically how I like to do it. And again, just like all my other how-to videos, I'm not claiming this is the only way to rig a Texas rig worm. This is how I do it, how I prefer to do it. And it's what I've found over the years to be the most successful. I like a screw-in bullet weight with a straight shanked hook. I've showed this in previous videos, but I don't think I ever really described why exactly I like this straight shank hook. So I'm going to show you in this video, along with answering a couple other questions from a previous video on how to adjust a new 13 fishing bait caster. There's a couple things I left out. I've had a few comments on how to adjust that properly with the dial, the centrifugal dial. I'll get to that at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Alright, let's start with what I see as the most common way, which seems to be the most common way people now rig their Texas rig worms, is with an offset hook. This is just your basic wide gap 4/0 offset hook. Again, with a 3/16 ounce bullet weight, free to slide all over the place until I move this bobber stopper down to hold it close to the worm. Basically with this setup, you're going to take this worm. This is just an 8-inch trick worm here made by DOA. It's the 8-inch CAL. You'll see in my videos I fish this worm a lot here on Lake Toho. But you have to run this straight down the center of the worm. Straight down the center, about 1/3 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. You're going to come out and slide it over the offset part so it covers the knot. Then, to get that hook nice and straight, see where the worm crosses where the hook crosses the worm? That's where that needs to be your entry point for the point of the hook, and you can judge that by placing your thumb there, and you're going to come straight across the worm right here, just like that. Pretty straight. Now you have this exposed hook like it's already been punctured there, and then they're going to push that point back in there, just like that. To keep the sinker from sliding all the way up and down, people will employ a bobber stopper. Now your sinker is snug up against the worm. The reason I don't like this setup is there's too much on it. There's too much to hang up. You're fishing submerged vegetation or casting it through emergent vegetation or fishing in brush piles, which you'll know I do a lot of. There's too much here to hang up in those brush piles. People will put these bobber stoppers on here to keep the weight snug so it doesn't, if you're coming over cover, the weight's not sliding away from the worm. Well, everything that sticks out from this line here is something that can hang up. The bobber stopper coming over a small branch can hang up. If you don't have it and the sinker slides down the line, you have a sinker down here sitting on the bottom and you have your worm up here and things get hung up. What hangs up most of the time, what people don't realize, is this offset part that sticks out this way. See how that is not a clean line there at all, sliding through. Another thing is you miss more fish with this setup, because when a fish bites this and it has this worm in, when you set the hook, that point is tucked back into the worm, straight up the length of the worm there. To get a good hook set on it, the whole deal behind this is, you'll notice this when you catch a lot of fish on a worm rig this way, that head slides all the way down like this, it bunches up, and then the point has to come out like that, just like that. Causes you to miss more fish than you would with my other setup. That's why I mainly don't like this setup. I've used it enough, especially with some of your bigger tungsten weights. If you're flipping that type stuff, you'll use a straight shank hook with the barbs on it, and they don't really make 1.5 and 2 ounce screw-in bullet weights. So then you're forced to use the bobber stopper with a slip sinker. But if I'm using a 1/8 ounce, 3/16 to a 1/4 ounce, I am using this other setup that I'm going to show you right now. So now I'm going to show you how I do it. And this is my favorite way to fish or to rig a Texas rig worm, and that employs a screw-in bullet weight and a straight shank round bend hook. And there's several reasons I do this, and I'm going to explain them to you now. But the best way to do that is let's start over with a fresh worm here. I have I think this is a 5/0 round bend straight shanked worm hook. Nothing special. A 3/16 ounce bullet weight. This happens to be kind of an olive color one. A lot of them are black. Some of them are unpainted. I didn't choose this color for any certain reason. That's just what I pulled out of my box. Where the rigging this is different. You can actually get your worm a lot straighter on this setup than you can with the offset. But you're not, with the offset hook, you're going to run straight down the worm. If you do that with this, you're going to have a crooked worm. Nobody likes a crooked worm. So you're going to go in at an angle. Still run it down about a 1/2 inch. I'll start this way, like this. Run down about a 1/2 inch. It's at an angle. So when I pull that hook out of the worm and turn it around, see that nice fluid line there? Straight worm. And see how the hook passes through the body of the worm there? That's the exact path that you're going to want to use when pushing that hook back through the worm. So I'll put my thumb there, come back down, push it to where I can just barely feel the point, but not puncture it all the way through. Then I'll take the head of the worm and pinch it, run my bullet weight down, and screw it in nice and snug. Now, if you look, that worm is a lot straighter than it was with the offset hook. You can get it pretty straight with the offset hook, but it's much easier to get it straight this way. And if you notice, you have a much cleaner line. There's no little bobber stopper to add it on as extra stuff to hang up in grass or on wood or whatever your kind of structure you're fishing around. You have a nice clean line. There's no offset part of the hook sticking out this way. It's a nice clean line all the way through. Works great when you're fishing around wood. Works great around submerged vegetation, hydrilla, Kissimmee grass, all that, milfoil, that kind of stuff. And your hook is angled to exit, leaving away from the worm instead of coming back up through it. So when you have a fish on here, a lot of times they'll suck them in head first and you're pulling them back this way. All that has to happen is that worm just has to come down on the hook this way to enter the fish. It doesn't have to have the whole head of the worm bunch up down here, which can sometimes end up re-hooking the fish. So this is how I do it. This is the best way I know to rig or fish with a Texas rig worm. Screw-in bullet weight. I think these are made by Bullet Weight. There might be some, they're originally made by Gambler Lures, but now they're made by the Bullet Weight company. That's it right there. And just like most of my videos, I'm not just going to show you how to do something and then the video's over. I'm actually going to try and catch some fish on it. I'm on some offshore bluegill beds. While I've been sitting here filming, I've seen a few bigger, larger fish chase some of these bluegill around off these beds. So I'm going to try and do that. But before I get to that, I'm going to do some other business. I did a video recently on how to adjust a brand new Concept Z or any of the 13 fishing bait casting reels, and I had a few comments and questions on how to actually adjust this dial. This is a relatively new Concept Z. I still have it set on 4, and it's kind of hard to show you, but just to show you real quick, I'm not going to go through the whole video again. See the little pin there that's on 4? If you want to adjust that either way, you got to get your fingernail in there and kind of pull away from the dial. Grab that pin with your fingernail and slide it. There's no big handle, nothing that protrudes out. You just grab that little pin. It's kind of spring loaded there, and you're going to move it around. I'm going to put this one on 3. So it's the actual pin with your fingernail. Pull it out just a little bit and you can move it back and forth pretty freely and it'll snap into place. So that answers that question. Now I'm going to try and catch some fish. Stay tuned. See what we can do here. got a bite on my first cast. Really? When they're on these bluegill beds, they like black and blue worm. Not a big one. Just a little 1.5-pounder, somewhere around in there. Perfect hook set, right in the lip. Screw and bullet weight, 5/0 round bend hook. First cast. There you go. So that was with my favorite setup. Now I'm going to throw a second favorite setup, which is just the other one, but we'll see what we can do with that deal. They're actually blowing up out here. Alright, I made one cast and caught one fish. Did a guide trip this morning, they didn't bite like this. We used shiners and it wasn't a very good morning. But I just had some fish chasing some bluegill here. I got my same setup but with the offset hook and the bobber stopper, 3/16 ounce weight, same worm. See if I can get a bite on the first cast this way. Didn't get a bit on the first cast, but they're chasing them over here. Oh, there's a bite. Took 2 casts to get it with it. So see, this technique doesn't even work as good. Took 2 casts to get a bite. Got it? Got it. Still hooked him. Ooh. Might be a better fish. A little bit. Not big. Still got a clean hook up, just like with the other one. The worm slid up, which I never said this technique didn't work. I just said it wasn't my favorite. Tore up the worm pretty good because the hook sliced all the way through it. Fish thought he was bigger than that, but I've made 3 casts now, caught 2 fish. So, both techniques work. That worm is unusable. It got torn up. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy this video. Again, this is how I do it. It's how I rig a Texas rig worm 90% of the time. Screw and bullet weight all the way up to as big as they make, which might be, I think, 5/16 around in there. Straight shank round bend hook. A line just like that, nice straight worm, good hookup ratio. This is how I do it. This is what I believe is the best way to rig a Texas rig worm. Thanks for watching. Again, please subscribe to my channel, share it, like it, send me some comments. You got any videos you want me to make, any topics you want me to talk about, places you want me to fish. If you want to come fishing with me, go to my website, chucksguideservice.com. Hit me up. I got some openings coming up, and fishing's been great, especially for August. I mean, usually August and then September, it's super hot out here, but it's pretty nice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. See ya.